It's the month of June. It's 45 degrees is the minimum temperature in Makkah. For
632.
632.
They measure temperature then.
No. आप अब कट देख लीजिए जाके आपको ज्यादा तकलीफ है.
Just continue.
45 minimum है. His body is there for 18 hours. It's not buried. Where are the rest of the people? They lock Ali and a few companions in his home. Nobody comes to bury him. They're fighting amongst themselves. सही है नहीं है सर? नहीं, अच्छा. They fight amongst themselves as to who's going to be his successor. Because Muhammad has named no successor. Muhammad has said nothing about the Islamic State. He has said never. The Quran says, I did not send you to be the leader of your people. I sent you as a messenger of truth, period. इनकी दुकान लगी हुई थी लोगों की. They were pulling each other's beards. And that day, a proclamation is made after Muhammad is dead, that the Ansar, the majority of Muslims, will be the servers, and the Quraysh tribe, जो by the way सब यहाँ कसाई बन गए यहाँ के, they will be the rulers. The 2% of the Muslims of Arabia were declared as the de facto rulers. So today, how many of you know that Iran's supreme leader cannot be an Iranian? He has to be an Arab. Leak कर दिया पेपर आपने सारा. Iran cannot have an Iranian as a supreme leader. He has to be Arab. He has to wear a black topi, which signifies that he is from the Quraysh. Now you imagine that the Prophet is dead. They've created a new term, Khalifatul Rasul. Okay, the representative of the Caliph. The Prophet didn't know anything about this. Abu Bakr becomes that. Look at the first law he passes. He says, the children of the Prophet shall not inherit anything, but their wives will. Now, how convenient is that the Prophet's wife is this guy's daughter, and the Prophet's daughter loses everything and lives in poverty forever. So Fatima loses everything, and Aisha gets everything. Right? 2 years later, within 2 years he lasts, there's a rebellion that we don't recognize you. The companions of the Prophet are killed because it is called everyone who disobeys him as an apostate. जो ये फतवा लगाते हैं ना रुश्दी टाइप का. Thousands died in 2 years. The first war of apostasy is within days of the Prophet dead. So when Amir Khan says, anybody who carries the Quran in a sword in his hand is not Muslim. भाई आमिर मेरी किताब पढ़ ले भैया खुदा के वास्ते. You're a good actor.
Let's forget.
अच्छा,
this is a serious topic.
So this is here. Next guy, Umar. He gets murdered by a Muslim, Iranian. Why? Our fine friend Umar says in Medina, only Arabs can live, Muslim or non-Muslim. These Hindi, Iranian, the Kachra party, Kala wala, Neela Pila, outside the down limits. Apartheid is set now. The Iranian comes and kills him. Third guy, Usman, he brings in his non-Muslim relatives that were expelled from Arabia by the Prophet, puts him there, starts sitting in the mosque at the highest ladder. You might have noticed in non-Arab, non-Indian mosques, there is a huge stair. The Imam has such an inferiority complex, he climbs 70, ऊपर बैठता है जाके, और टोपी पहन के. He becomes Khalifut Allah. He becomes the representative of God. He gets murdered in his home. Fourth guy, Ali. By now the people have run away from Arabia. Now they are living in Damascus. Cool. Iranian women, Greek women as their wives. The Umayyads all had non-Arab wives, most of them. Who gets killed over there? Ali, while praying by fellow Muslims. In the mosque, Hassan gets knifed in the battle between the fifth caliph the son of the enemy of Prophet Muhammad, Abu Sufyan's son, becomes the founder of the Umayyad dynasty. And what does he do to fight the closest companion, Muhammad? He puts pages of the Quran on their spears and lances and stops the war. Because he says anybody who destroys his book is fighting against God. He wins the war. And then Hussein is murdered. And then his children are murdered. All by Muslims. There's no America yet. There's no Israel. And there's no Hindutva. There's no Professor Swami. There's no BJP. There's no BJP. There's no BJP. कुछ हुआ ही नहीं अभी. अभी शुरू हो गई ये काम अपना करने. So anyone who thinks...
No, we're coming to the Sharia law. The timeline.
Sharia, yes. Everything is now closed. Now Islam is in the hands of the people who were non-Muslim. Umayyads. These guys start writing Islamic law. And Sharia law...
if I understood you correctly, they start writing law and calling it Islamic.
Yeah. No.
Laws of convenience.
Sharia means the path.
The path.
So they start documenting how to govern, what are taxes, inheritance. Monarchy comes into Islam. There's no concept of monarchy in Islam, but the dynasty comes in. 100 years later, the laws are set. The next group comes from Iran, Khurasan, and takes the entire Umayyad dynasty in Damascus, slaughters them, and while they're bleeding to death, have a ceremonial dinner. 750, they lived happily ever after. One guy escapes from there and sets up his caliphate in Spain, Abdurrahman III. When these guys come, they change the capital, Damascus. They build a new capital in Baghdad. They then say this law is there, but how do we know it is right? So they create citations. Many of you must have done. You need to check it. I kahan se baat. So for the citation document has to predate the document you're writing. No, they backdate it that the hadith starts getting written on the basis of which their previous law was there. So now these guys sit down to write the hadith, which is the sayings of Prophet Muhammad. Already 150 years have passed. For the next 100 years, they start collecting these quotations of Prophet Muhammad. They compile them, put those citations into the original document, that becomes hadith and Sharia. Finally, what happened to Prophet Muhammad? There is no biography. One guy says, yes, there is a book by, what's the name? Siratul. Yes, Ishaq. Ibn Ishaq, sorry. Ibn Ishaq is a guy who, one guy who's Ibn Hisham says, he wrote a book on Prophet's life and I memorized it. So where's this Ibn Ishaq's book? Oh, that's gone. What do we do? Hey, Ibn Hisham, come down, start dictating. Ibn Hisham starts writing Ibn Ishaq's book. That's 1400 pages of the Prophet's life. That is undisputed, and you cannot say that anything is wrong in it. Now that becomes the final document in reverse order through which Sharia is launched.
And what's the timeline between the
That's
Prophet's
about,
death?
so now we're in the 9th century. So we've gone back 250 to 300 years to figure out what happened in the beginning. It starts before the horse in the grandest medieval monstrous manner. And most of the Muslim theologians of the time said, this is, the debate was, is the Quran inspired or is it created? So the Mutazallah, the rationalists of Islam said, it's created. They lost the war. The Asharites who said, this is a word of God, slaughtered them. And then we lived happily ever after.
So coming back to the Sharia law in Canada and how you got it.
What happened was, we discovered that the Pakistan government's Minister of Religious Affairs, who instituted Sharia law in Pakistan, and more importantly into the Pakistan banking system, which is called Sharia banking, is a complete fraud.
Why is that? Can you?
By that, you call, you say, how do you spell interest in Islam? S-H-A-R-I-A. It's holy, it's holy, it's holy. They add another 1.25% to 1%, so the Muslim has to pay more. And they call that a fee. ऐसे अब तो पाक हो गया अब तो मौलवी साहब इसको जरा पाक कर दिया बच्चा पाक हो जाता हमारे यहाँ जब हलाल गोश्त नहीं मिलता था मॉन्ट्रियल में तो एक सरदार थे उनकी बीवी मुसलमान थी मैंने उससे पूछा कैसे हलाल होता बोला कभी बकरा कभी गोश्त हलाल हो सकता है और उनको निकाह पड़ा है वो गोश्त आता है ऐसी फुक्का मार देने वो ठीक हो जाता है वो हलाल हो जाता इसी तरह इन्होंने शरिया बैंकिंग को हलाल कर दिया और वो लूट रहे मुसलमानों को because we have to pay more mortgage than anybody else. So this guy ends up as an immigrant in Canada. He is now a Canadian citizen, as are about 200 Pakistani generals. Yeah, all ISI guys are working over there because that's the place from where you are going to screw America. Safe haven. We got a very early indication. I was in the Premier's office. Premier Bob Rae, if you guys ever visit Canada, one of the finest intellectuals that country has produced. And he said, Mr. Fatah, these guys want Arbitration Act to include, binding Arbitration Act to include application of Sharia into this. So Jews have it, I said, for heaven's sake, you have no clue what you're doing. They set up Sharia courts, like they have in Britain, divorce, inheritance, death. Every aspect of life was being governed. The problem is that the moment a non-Muslim says this is wrong,
there's a problem.
He's an Islamophobe. He's a racist. He's a right-wing bigot. He's on the payroll of BJP. RSS का साला agent है. Israel से पैसे खाता है वो. We said, let's take it a step further and declare Sharia as un-Islamic. Now let's have that debate. We mathematically proved it doesn't exist. Now, therefore, it is not Islamic. And therefore, a Muslim cannot demand it to be the law. And since it is not the law, let's challenge it and we'll take it to the Supreme Court. And we came out on the streets. The Maulvis, the Hijabis and the Niqabis had not figured that out. What the hell is that? How do we deal with Muslims who are opposed to us? So unlike India, where all the secular Muslims think that drinking whiskey is to be secular, we thought that instead of wasting money on whiskey, banners that said separation between state and religion is the core of nation, liberal, natural democracy. We will not allow any religion to determine laws in this country. On the anniversary of 9/11, 2005, it was a Sunday. Quietly, the Toronto Star headline says, Sharia law banned. When you enter my home, that's what you see. If I've ever done anything in my life other than having had the contribution to change Aurangzeb Road's name, that's what I did.